Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Coding Until live stream. So happy to find you, so happy to see you here. I asked earlier in the week what you'd like to see today and you voted for Supabase Auth. So SvelteKit and Supabase, how do they go together? Let's figure it out. And it's gonna be a long one. We've done one random long stream and I think it's probably gonna be as long as that one because Auth, you need to take it seriously. It's rarely pleasant to do, but the results are essential. Most apps need Auth, so we'll try to make a good job with that today. One of my most famous videos, maybe, or infamous, is how to do SvelteKit full stack SSR driven Auth using Firebase. And I did a lot of research back then. Supabase was one of the 4 options I really investigated, but things have changed since. The thing I didn't, maybe the thing that stopped me from going with Supabase back then was that I really wanted to do SSR Auth, and a lot of the Supabase clients weren't working server-side at the time. Now they've got a few more methods, and now I guess there is less limitation of maybe we should do it on the client. Because back then it was requested by you, the community, that I do it server-side style, like the cookies and all of that, like the theme, which was based on the cookies. But now maybe we can be more pragmatic and try it client-side first and see what we'll end up doing in the end. So let me switch to the screen sharing view and see what the rough agenda for today is. And I will also switch to the chat. Feel free to say hi. Thank you, Axe. I'm trying to do more and more Svelte because I enjoy doing Svelte, for sure, even for more complicated things. But especially when it's small, like HTML, CSS animations, that sort of thing, I do find Svelte is much closer to vanilla HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So it's easier, or it makes more sense to me to show it in Svelte format. And then for others, it's easier to adapt into their framework of choice if it's not Svelte, if they're using React, which may be the case if you work for another company. Of course, React, Next.js is really good and really everywhere, React Native as well. So showing it how it's done in Svelte, it's kind of like showing how it's done with vanilla HTML and JavaScript and CSS, so you can adapt to your needs. But I do enjoy working in Svelte, that's why we're doing Svelte today. And last time in that long stream, we ended up making this app, the TechieCat app, that's all about the ideas that you can share. Things to get inspired. If you want to implement any of these, feel free to do it. But we didn't include the profile, the user login functionality that we have in another app that we've done for these videos. And that would be the goal for today. Maybe I can definitely log in, that's the big goal that we have, but maybe I can have a little star icon here, which I can click, and then that idea becomes a favorite, and I can go to a different screen that shows me only the favorite ideas, something like that. The idea for that idea is that you can bookmark things that you do want to revisit later, and then when you have a long weekend, for example, then you can go and actually spend some time and try to implement. I don't really know, it's all like conceit, I guess. It's all something to drive us to put auth into this app with a user benefit. So the user benefit is not just I can log in. If you can log into any site, it's not a benefit to the user. It's probably a benefit to the person running the site, to the company that has the site, because they have your email address or whatever they have. They have more users that they can market that they have, but as a user, you need some functionality, some extra functionality to make you want to sign up. So it would be the star favorite functionality here. And maybe in the future, we can even create a little admin dashboard. I say little, but it would be huge. But in order to show SvelteKit layouts, for example, we could create a whole authenticated dashboard where you can submit your own ideas, you can edit them. That would be a nice segue from what we do today to what we do next time. Hey Marias and hey Mr. Namazu. And I will put on a little poll in the chat before we start asking, will we implement auth? A big thing with these videos and these live streams, I guess, in contrast to the videos, is that they are meant to be a bit of an imposter syndrome cure. If you see the videos, I've researched them extensively, I've done like demo runs before, I capture my screen, I edit afterwards, so they may create the illusion that I fly through all of these. And that's not the case. I have been told that I code fast in real life, but coding fast gets you nowhere really, because it's all about the planning. There are better ways to be a better programmer than actually typing code fast. And I'm definitely not as fast as the videos may make it seem. It's only because I respect your time. I think that you want to see a concept, you want to see the overview, you want to see how it works, and you don't really want to see me do spelling mistakes or look up things on the internet or have to go back out of a rabbit hole and into another. So the videos are very, very edited. Today it's gonna be quite freeform. I'm gonna ramble about things like I'm rambling now. Hopefully you enjoy. And that's why the poll that I'm putting up is gonna be, are we actually gonna make auth today? Who knows? It's not a big deal if we don't. I think we will, but what do you think? Thank you, MB. So, as an overview, the rough agenda we may have today is, we'll talk a little bit, why do client-side or server-side auth, all of that, why do it? We will talk a little bit about Supabase, what even is it, and other solutions you may have with auth. And of course, I can promote my video where we actually go with Firebase, which is a much more popular solution for auth, at least at this point in time. Then we will create a sign up, sign in form, which we'll click. And at the end, we'll hopefully have some cookies, a logged in session, and we'll be able to do some great stuff. Doing it client side should be easier. So we should be able to at least get there. And then we'll see how do we actually do it server side. There is a new method that I've put in here that Supabase has added that can only be run with a server on the server with a service role key. So we'll see if we can make that work and avoid using JavaScript on the client altogether, which would be cool because why run JavaScript if you can avoid it? And then we'll see if we can do that thing with let's favorite the posts, let's get them back and see if I can get back the ones that I favorite using the row level security RLS feature that Supabase has. I have put this as a bonus because maybe we'll be able to explore the row level security before we actually implement this into something real, but who knows? I'll do my best to get through this. And I do have this app called Focus Noodles. Yeah, that's correct. I saw it when Apple unveiled their Design Awards nominees for the year, and I like to investigate and kind of, support these apps, see are they really great? Do they have good design? Try to take ideas from them. So I'm trying this timer app, really. I'm gonna put 25 minutes on the timer, turn my phone around, and then a flashing light should go off, which will be my cue to take a little break, take a sip of water and a sip of coffee, try to gather my thoughts and engage with you, dear audience, as well. Of course, I love the messages in the chat. They're very nice, and I thank you all dearly. Feel free to jump in with your questions. This is Coding and Chill. This is about you more than it is about me. Keep the questions coming. I will address them as needed. So let's focus noodle this and see where we'll be starting with. Maybe explain this app a little bit. There is a big live stream of creating this app. It's a SvelteKit app based on another SvelteKit app that I've made, but it's not that far away from what you'd get using the npm init or npx starter for a SvelteKit app. It's not that far away. But at this moment in time, we are getting the ideas from Supabase. Supabase is a open source alternative solution to things like Firebase. So it will offer you a storage option for your images, a storage option for your data, so a database, a real-time database, and a Postgres database, an SQL database, or they've made Postgres work real-time. Fuzzy on that. I think they have a happy hour going on, so feel free to read up on what Supabase actually does. But what I've done with Supabase is that I do have an ideas table in their Postgres database, and that's where I've kept all of these things, and I'm fetching them on the server right here to run them in this page. This is where I'd be hoping that if I'm authenticated, I would be able to select from a join table or something the likes or the favorites and be able to show on the side the little star on the ones that I have actually favored, or have another route here to only show the ones that I've liked. Now, this ties into why would you want to do server-side auth over client-side? As a rule, client-side is much easier, and really, as always, it depends on your needs and what you want to do in your app or what you want to do in your engineering journey. But I would suggest client-side auth. It's almost always easier. That's why all the videos are about client-side auth or simplified auth. And that's why even the Supabase documentation and other documentation you find for any auth solution is usually, let's do this on the client, because it's much easier than having to handle cookies, refreshing cookies. They may work differently across different browsers, different machines. If you're on private mode, incognito, it's all quite trickier if you choose server-side. So if your goal is, I have an idea for an app, I want to get it off the ground, I would suggest go client-side and save yourself a lot of trouble. There are some features that you'd only be able to kinda make better if you go with server-side auth. Like, it would be nicer if the server already gave me these ideas with the little star of I favored them. If I have a few favorite ideas and in the end you may be also be interested in these ideas. Or if you're building, like this is a make-believe app, but if you're building an e-commerce site, if you were able to do the recommendations based on the logged in user as from the server straight away and not as a loading thing that happens afterwards, maybe that's a bit better, but not really. I think if you have the homepage, by the time that the user scrolls to the point where you want to recommend other things to purchase, I think even doing it client-side would be enough. The user experience wouldn't be much better, but it would give you a bit of an edge. So there are some ways, there are some things in your app that would be maybe better if you were doing server-side auth. The biggest trouble is that if you do mix client-side and server-side auth, you have two sources of truth, and that's where you may get into tricky territory, where someone that shouldn't be able to access something or access some user's card, they are able to do it. With two sources of truth, more things to mess up, a bit of a security concern there. But again, not too much. I would say client-side, much easier, get your app off the ground faster, go for it first, and maybe assess the needs that you have, and then try to do it server-side. But if the point of all of this is learning, then do go for server-side auth, because that's a huge skill. Like, you'll be forced to learn and be exposed to many concepts that are in high demand. They would make you look like a more experienced engineer, because you would be solving some trickier problems that especially front-end engineers sometimes don't have to solve. So if your purpose is learning, it will take much longer, but it may be beneficial to go with server-side auth. It may be beneficial to watch this stream and the videos, because you will be learning a few things you wouldn't be exposed to if you just call the method client-side and then it's all solved for you. Again, not for a real app scenario, but it could be a real you get hired scenario with this. We'll see. Let me know how it goes. So Supabase, I've investigated a few other solutions I talked briefly about in this video. Firebase is the one I went to because it is the most popular one. I see startups and even bigger companies go with Firebase quite often, so there is a lot of skill overlap. Auth0 is another huge one. Usually you'd find more production and more like, let's do this by the book. People go with Auth0, so that's a huge asset to have on your CV as well, if not Firebase. And then there was the magic.link one, which was the maybe most fun to use, most quicker to market to use, but it could hold you a bit back in regards to, you've put it in your CV, you talk about how you've integrated with magic.link. People will say, that's nice, that's cool, that's awesome, but it's not Firebase Auth. It's not Auth0, which has a much higher chance that the company that you're interviewing for is using it. Or if you're already in a company, the thing that you'd be using in the company already, the highest chance from the options would be, I say, either Firebase or Auth0. Supabase does have a low chance, but it does have a hype. It does have the hype train going for it. And I suspect it's because it has the managed Postgres that they give you. I think that's key. You cannot go wrong with Postgres as your database. And qualm with Firebase, especially against maybe, Firebase is a wholesale solution, I should say that first. Auth0 only does Auth, that's why it's in the name. And Firebase has been a standard with Auth for quite a few years, but people are skeptical about its real-time database or the Firestore. If you do a chat app or that sort of thing, fine, it has won the crowd for sure. But if you're doing relational stuff, people are skeptical. People often want to do their own Postgres that they deploy somewhere. But people don't want to run their own servers, they don't want to run their own databases, so managed Postgres is another thing that's been hot, and that's what Supabase offers. Alright, I think all of this rambling has been planned. Hope you've liked it so far. We'll get to do some code, and what we'll start with is a place to log in. So I will add a little icon on the header that you'll be able to click and then get into a form to hopefully call a Supabase method somewhere, send an email somewhere and get a magic link to revisit to get back to this page. Will I need to show all my emails for this stream? Maybe. Maybe there will be something spicy in there. Who knows? No promises. Alright, so for the icon, tying into the SVG import stuff, I think I will go for person off. Let's download this SVG. And drag and drop the SVG we got into the icons folder of our repo. Rename it to no user, not to be confused with anonymous user. Then open our header. And maybe start should we start with the theme toggle or the user? The theme is more important because it just looks cool, the coolest animation we got. Let's keep that front and center. We want this to get us to log in, not open a new window, maybe no label even. Whoops. Lib. Icons, no user SVC. It's $lib, not $/lib. So here it is, all invisible. Let's give it a color. Cool, so I guess we need to transition on the fill, not the text as well. All right. So far, so good. So we should be able to click here and go to our route. We do not have login route. Let's get in there. In the routes, I'm gonna create a login.svelte. Browser is happy. And what are we gonna put in there? We're gonna put a form and maybe some explanation as to why you're not logged in. Sign up login. Page hidden seems like something we should steal. What else do we do here? You usually have a section, I guess. All right, what's this form gonna do? It will definitely have an input for your email, because we're gonna do magic link authentication, my favorite. Millionth time is the charm. We'll definitely have a styling break at some point to make this look all nice. All right, let's make this look like a fun submit button. I think we have a big link or big button somewhere. Let's try that one. We're gonna focus on the styling later, but I can't help myself. I want things to look kinda nice and acceptable. Not too bad. I guess that's not the best, but hey. Maybe just max width prose would be enough. Yeah. Not ridiculously huge. Cool. So what happens when we submit the forum? I think that's the $1 million question. I think it needs to be required. And then nothing happens, of course. What we want to happen is to initiate the send email process. And apparently they do have, Supabase does have this invite user by email API, which we can use on the server, and we may get to. We'll probably get to that eventually. But what we will actually do to start with is actually do the sign up or sign in here, which can be done client side, and see, do I manage to get an email to log in and then be fetched back to our app? We'll see. And the question is, I will open my Supabase app just to have a look at it, have a couple with SvelteKit. We're on the TechieCat one, and we're trying to do some more auth. We hope to get that graph up and running, just to see what we have on our database. I have the ideas table, which I swear they just changed this. It's in the editor, right? Which has all the ideas that you can see in the app on the homepage, or the ideas are out. And it has an empty profile. Oh, not empty, because I manually added my user here. But the idea is, at the end of the login flow, somehow we should be able to have a new record of a new user, and I have another email that I can use for this. So I already have a user with this email. It would be interesting to see what happens if I use the sign up thing again, or if I use the sign in when I don't have an account. So I will have two emails I'll be using for this. And this is their special auth table, Supabase's special auth table that's outside the public schema. And they suggest in their docs that you create your own profiles or users or whatever you want to call it. They suggest profiles to make it less confusing than the auth table that exists in their own private schema, I guess, to not be confused with the users here. In any case, in this profiles table, you can have any information about a user that you want to be public facing. So the unique ID references the ID of a user. This needs to be an ID that exists in their special auth table. And this, you just make up what you want to have as public information. So display name, if we are able to do it server side, we may be able to do something cool and say, all right, let's generate a fun name, like a color animal, like purple elephant or whatever on the fly. And then everyone gets a display name that they can then change. But if we don't get to that, this may need to be something that happens in a different form where you can set your initial display name and then this record gets created. And I didn't add the email here just in case that, you know, should that be public information? If I went into a random site, I wouldn't want someone to be able to click on my profile and see what my email is. So I didn't put it on this table for now, but it is easy with Supabase to create new columns. Probably too easy. I would have loved if it worked better with some migration solutions like Prisma, but it doesn't seem to work that well. Anyway, still early days for this company, for this solution, and I'm excited to try it out. All right, so all this to say that I want to call Supabase auth signup when we submit the form. And as we said, if we manage to do the server side eventually, it does mean we'd be able to do this without JavaScript. But for now, we will do something on submit on this form, some JavaScript on submit of this form. So what do we actually want to do? Let's create a little submit. I want to lazily copy the type in here, I guess, but I'm not quite getting it. Have I typed it in my other repo? Always good to see. Svelte TSX event handler, of course. So this gets the event which has a current target, and inside the current target you can create a form data and pass it the current target and get the email from that. So current target is the thing that initiates the event, which is the form. We're putting it here on submit. Whoa, noodles are ready. I may do a small break or maybe not, we'll see. Let's type this. So to finish this thought, the form has an onSubmit handler, an onSubmit method. We run this, and therefore the event that gets passed has a current target. The current target is the form. If you pass it into the form data constructor, you get all the data that is inside the form, and we are getting the email. So that's from the input name email. This will get the user's email here, and we can do some magic with Supabase. So this should still be all good and fine. We may want a reference to this email to tell the user, check your this email, but not yet. For now, a quick look back at the chat and a couple sips, one coffee, one water. I don't know if I should have zoomed into my face just for the coffee sips. Felt like a good idea at the time. Let me know if you can listen to the music I have playing on the background. Let me know if it's comforting. Let me know if it is nice. And indeed, we will go back to the code because I do feel like I did a ramble at the start and not code enough, so I won't take a bigger break. So let's use that noodles app again, focus noodles. We're back. Cool, so we are at the crunch time mode. Now, we have the email if we want it, and we do, because one of the ways they suggest is to do this. Is to use the Supabase clients method .auth to sign up. I think they have a sign in as well. Let's bring in that dependency. And then maybe the TypeScript will help me. I guess I will need to create a client here. And we're doing the server side to here. All of these are public, so they're fine to have on this method that will run on the client. And this is Supabase client. This is auth, and it has sign in as well. Usually sign up is like a superset of both. And we don't want a password to do just the magic link stuff. But I guess if we have no email, then we want like an error state at some point. Right, so if we make it out of this if and haven't thrown the error, looks like this is definitely going to be a string. So it should be happy. And then something's going to happen. Who knows what? Let's try with this email. Or actually, let's do some console log based development. I think what we get back if we await this method is the JWT or the user or something like that. User or error. Great. If you await this. So this needs to be asynchronous. Console log both. And I think this is gonna be a decoded JWT in the end, maybe. We'll find out. So here, let's type in the email with which I've already signed up. it should console log nothing because it should still be awaiting forever. And the question is, did I get an email to sign up? I need to have two windows open here. Interestingly, I did not, because maybe what this form did, because we had no action or no nothing, is automatically submit to the same page. So let's see. Yeah, it redirected to here with that email which just sent, which we don't want to do. We do want to hijack with JavaScript for now. And with Svelte, we can do this by passing prevent default here on the onSubmit. So let's try that again. Ooh, sign up requires a valid password. That's not true. I swear I've seen this, that you can just magic link your way. And all that it wants, maybe it's just the signing that does it, maybe. So let's try this method. This should definitely work because I do already have an account for j@macrepis.com. So I should have gotten an email. It seems like this logs us. Who knows what the user is? But, which is kind of funny, I thought that would be a waiting for me to go to my email account and do whatever I need to do here. And I do indeed get an email, you'll have to trust me on this, which gets me to the SvelteKit website with an access token, which is quite cool, but not exactly what we want. So what the email gets me to, I'll open here. It goes through Supabase, which is cool, and then it redirects back to the SvelteKit website with an access token using hash routing, I guess. And you're able to use this as your JWT, I suppose. In the end, it does say that you did a magic link, and it does say that the token that you have right before is better. But that is a problem, because I want to say that actually I want you to redirect me back now to localhost, because that's where we're developing. So how do we do that? Hey, Alvaro. And there is a place here where I've mentioned that localhost can be an additional redirect URL. So I can only imagine that I need to specify somewhere, maybe to the Supabase client here, that the redirect URL should be something else. Should create user. Oh, redirect to. Here you go. But where? In the options. OAuth logins only. Is Magic Link OAuth? I don't think so. But how come? I do say that we can do redirect to as the second parameter, as the options. All right, so that was a good guess. And defaults to true, so it will automatically create the user if I didn't have the user already. That's good. We don't need that extra flag. So the problem to solve now is that we do want to use redirect to. And I guess this needs to be an absolute URL. So what's the URL now? I suppose it's gonna be window location href host. What can we use here to get just the part? I guess this with just one local host, and we can add HTTPS there. So host is just localhost 3000, or it would be take.cat. We need to add the HTTPS here. And maybe we can create the auth callback route, and that will get us back to somewhere. Didn't like that at all. Whoops. All right. Let's see. This is promising. So I'll keep the address bar. Submit this. Submit again. Didn't like that one. I wonder if that's unaccepted. For security purposes, you can only request this once. Oh no. What does that even mean? So that's important to note somewhere. Let's keep that error. So in this case, we want to show that we've already sent you an email, and I'm just making this mental note for myself. And I guess they've sent me another email at this point, which I can follow. It did get me back to TechieCat. So now that I followed that URL, I wonder if I can resubmit the form. I guess it worked. And now, does the login flow get me back to localhost? The answer is no. Why not? We'll figure it out. So, exact URLs. Exact. That feels important. That's also HTTPS. That's not true. So, for now, in real life, this would be HTTPS. How do we get the protocol again? I guess it's window location. protocol. Yeah, so let's do that. So I don't think this will work because it seems like we want exact URLs, exact. Or else it defaults to the one I've set, I guess. So it will default to here if it's not exact. And we're saying that maybe we want HTTP localhost 3000 auth callback to work. Did I say it before? Maybe that was the problem. We'll figure it out. Exact URLs. All right, let's go. We've already sent you the email. Did I not click it? I guess not. I wonder how often I can run this before we get into trouble. Yes! So this indeed got me into the localhost redirect. So back to our app. Amazing. And we have an access token. We can do stuff with that eventually. Tells us when it expires, which we can assume, I guess. And also gets us a refresh token. Both of those would be interesting to have. But we'll keep this like on the side just to remember. But we're saying let's redirect back to auth/callback. Those things I've kind of made up, like the exact route there we're redirecting back. Doesn't need to be auth/callback. I have seen it in a few places before, so I'm going for it, I guess. And I don't want it on this desktop, so get out of here. Said I will save this, but no. So it tells me to get back to the app. And we've kind of decided that we want an auth callback.svelte route. And in here, let's copy all of these things, I guess. Could it be a server-side route? I think the answer may be yes. Can I redirect from a server-side route? So the import object, a question in the chat, that's a Vite thing. Vite will put environment variables in import.meta.env, and I've also specified this extra. This doesn't come by default. I've specified type definitions for what is inside import.meta.env. That's the way Vite recommends that you do this. So I do have a .env file with my environment variables, and I am saying that I've added this and I've added this. So I get a nice autocomplete that will know that this should be defined, this should be defined as well. If we're using server-side variables, then we shouldn't prefix them with Vite, because Vite will not know if this runs on the server or on the client or not. It will not care, and you will be leaking your keys. And in that case, if we have just an endpoint, I suppose, we can use process.env, then the variable name, like a DB, like Supabase, super admin password, or whatever, more traditionally. Right, so we were saying that we do successfully get redirected back to here, the auth callback route. What can we do there? Like I will have to Google. Will Reddit? That's always promising. Will this work? Maybe, but I was hoping the SvelteKit docs may be able to help us more. Direct. Another direct here. That's not super clear. I guess it is if you read enough. Right, so what are we gonna attempt? I'm gonna attempt to create an endpoint here in auth/callback, and it's gonna be a get endpoint. This is very familiar because I am editing the endpoints video. Now it's coming along well, should be like a 20-something minute episode, but we are some ways from getting it all done for you and uploaded. So we want to export this, and we want to return a redirect to maybe /profile. And status code (302) is status codes. HTML status codes. (302) found. We found the user. Great. Get there. Guess that's the idea. Sounds legit to me. But what we want here is be able to access the query parameters. So we saw that they give us back an access token or something. So we do want the URL. And this URL is a URL. Great. Is it gonna be a search param? I think it was access token. I think it was refresh token. But I will also log the whole URL. We made it to the callback. Yay. Right, so I'm gonna try this again on the hidden window that you cannot see with all my naughty emails. I should get another email, another magic link email from here. Great. And I'm not gonna click it in this hidden window. I'm gonna copy the link address and then go back to where you are able to see here, because that's what would happen if I opened it in a client here and see what happens. Okay, we made it to the callback thing. Why did it not redirect us? That's disappointing. And it didn't have search parameters, and the whole URL doesn't have like the has routing thingy, which is very disappointing. So how do I get the has stuff from here is one question, and the other one is how do I redirect to profile? We'll figure it out once again. So just to confirm, it is access token and refresh token, but it's not in the search params. Is it the path? I guess if this was the window location, it would be path name. No. href. Let's see if this would be any better. No, it seems that we lose the parameters here, which is quite disappointing. Noodle timer. All right, I am gonna take the break for the coffee, because given that we can't figure out the redirect, can we not? Because this is the load. Redirect again. Does it work with endpoints? Yeah, maybe not. Doesn't look like it. So we will do this in the front end, and in the front end we should be able to access the hash parameters a bit better, but let's think about it a little bit. Let's go back to our little agenda. So we did talk about this, we have a sign up, sign in form, and now we are in making it work at least client side for now. It's too bad that this step didn't work quite well. Wonder what would happen if we make it happen in a load method. We'll find out soon enough. But it is promising that we are managing to send the emails client side without too much hassle. It makes me have some confidence that this invite user by email thing will work, although I'm not sure, because will it actually send a magic link? Will it work if I already have an account? We'll find out. But I think it's looking promising. I think we'll be able to make it work client side at the very least, and we'll see about server side. So I will switch back to the face view, like zoom in on the coffee sips, really take those in. I'm definitely enjoying the stream. It's very often that I spend time being into rabbit holes and debugging these things, and it's always good to have company. It feels more productive in a way that someone else is watching me go through this. We figure stuff out together. And that's my goal for the streams, that if I spend 1 hour streaming or 3 or however long, if the watch time from people in the chat is at least 1 hour or 3, as long as I was in at least one more person overall in total through all of you was watching the whole stream, I think that's amazing. I think that brings value in the engineering community. All right, I'm eager to go. Let's switch back to the desktop. And we found out that it's not as easy to redirect from the server. I'm sure there is some way, but we may not figure it out just yet. Let me know in the chat if you know how that's possible. But we also couldn't figure out how to get these hash parameters here. Because these guys at Supabase, they couldn't just add a question mark here. They had to do hash routing. And of course, let me know of a way to access that. The backend endpoint on SvelteKit. Let me know if there is something in Supabase that I need to like toggle and say redirect with hash routing that I've missed, but I can't see it right now. So what we'll actually be doing is YouTube and Twitch streaming at the same time. Not really. I haven't set up the services that allow you to stream into multiple platforms at the same time. I'm just trying to make YouTube work for now, and at some later point I will maybe look into it. Is there something in Twitch that I'm missing that would be interesting to know? So if we can't do this in the backend, we'll have to do it in the front end. And the front end would say logging you in. Sometimes I ... and my editor is trying to be too clever. Tries to do something that I'd never want to do. So let's say that we export a load method like we saw in these docs. And it will need to be type module for SvelteKit to be able to execute this. And yeah, of course, that's why URL has cannot be accessed during load. I see. I see. So yeah, that's disappointing. That's something that I will be asking for Supabase to add. It's like, can you redirect to me with like query parameters and not hash parameters? Why are you doing this stuff? Oh, interesting, Alvaro. I'll keep that in mind. Like in my head, it was, oh, tweets. If I want to stream Elden Ring or something, I would give tweets a go, some more gaming content. But if I want to see code, then I'd go to YouTube. But I get the idea that maybe in YouTube people do expect editing content. But I think YouTube itself surely wants to change this because they are promoting the live streams now as well. Ah, do you mean the content, the audience for this channel specifically wants the edited content and not the live stream, so there would be less confusion? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just putting words in your mouth and I'm complicated things for no reason. I will have to look at other coding streams for inspiration as well. It's always good to improve and learn. The one thing that I would want YouTube to do to improve the streams is to give me the ability to remove ads, because I'm not monetized on YouTube. I'm not a partner. I cannot turn off the ads, and it always hurts to see people jumping off because they get an unskippable ad or something. And you know, even if it was that I did get some pennies from you watching an ad, I wouldn't do it for the live streams. I think it just kills the momentum. So that's the one thing that would massively improve the live streaming experience for me, because if people tell me, oh, I saw this ad and you know I just got bored and jumped out, I do get a bit sad. So that's the only thing YouTube needs to do, and then it would be like 100% better and better than tweets on that regard. In any case, let's see. We just found out we can't use URL has here. So what can we do? Can we do it like on mount? So I can't get the has here. There is a method. So no loading, nothing like that. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it will work. No type module. And we want to say, when you've mounted server side, we want you to do something. And maybe that will be login the has. So if I manage to get here, I do get this. Great. And then it does include the has at the start. So I will need a little regex, I guess. And I would also want to see, does the URL object has like a hash value thing? Guess not. Like this is supposed to get you into anchors within the document, and this is a hack that the initial single page apps were doing. So it wasn't really meant for this, but hey. So this guy on Stack Overflow, this person, this friend, says this may work. This is the param. Sounds like a utility method, but let's see. See it working first. Promising. Svelte videos for beginners in the future, Nalan asks. Hello, Nalan. Great to see you in the comments from Indonesia. That was my dad's favorite country. He was a ship captain, if you can believe that, and he spent a lot of time around Indonesia, Singapore, his favorite place in the world. So that brings back some memories. And in regards to making more Svelte content for beginners, definitely I want to make more Svelte content in general. And stuff for beginners too is part of what I want to do. I do think that there are more videos out there with more beginner content, and that's why I'm trying to do videos that other people haven't touched. But as I try to pick up the speed of me doing videos, doing content, doing live streams, that sort of thing, I think we will be able to get into content that is more about beginners, because I want to get more people into tech, and the place to start is definitely the beginner stuff. It's not here's how you do SSR Auth. So we'll definitely take this feedback to heart. And you don't need to call me mister. Cool. So access token. Was it not called access? So we get the refresh token just fine. We don't get the access token, and I wonder if there is something in the regex that makes that be a problem. So I just use href here. Still not happy. Interesting. You're welcome. All right, gang. We're gonna regex ourselves. Enough Stack Overflow. We want to capture everything. Like it starts with a hash, and we want to capture. What do we want to capture? has anything optional, access token equals, and then anything. And then the capture group should be this until the end. Is that the problem that we get? So let's do it with token type. Right, and if we were to want it to stop at the ampersand, like, would we need to do any character but ampersand? Maybe not ampersand is what we want. All right, we're getting somewhere. Would this capture something? Yeah, hopefully. I think we did it. So the first element of this array should be the whole match. The second one, somehow with what I've done, I guess it's this capture group. And we want the second capture group. So we are at index 2, the third item in this array. So that's pretty cool. And our point is we have the access token, the JWT, the JSON Web Token. We have the refresh token. And now we want to hit the server with them and then put them in as cookies, I suppose. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Forgot to do my noodles thingy. Let's do another one. We're moving along smoothly. So we've made it to this page. We have an access token. Which is this. Refresh token. Which is this. We don't want to console log anything anymore. We can extract this into its own file. not getting my cool autocomplete refactor suggestions, unfortunately, so I'll have to do this manually. So let's go to lib. Modernize it. Go back to all callback. Import this. And then we want to do a fetch. I'll look at what we actually auto-completed now. Doesn't hurt. And yeah, we could send these as authentication headers, but I guess we will not, because I do want to send both the access token and the refresh token. And maybe that would be weird. I know that in my other app, let's see, what conventions did I do here? There is a session.ts. We did get it from the authorization headers, so maybe we can do that to keep it the same. But I would also want why make stuff up? When you can follow best practices, when you can follow standard procedures. So we want to hit auth session with a post request here. And I guess then redirect back, redirect somewhere. In my other app, we probably do this. Do we have a callback component? Confirm here. I guess so. Go to. Here we go. App navigation. Let's check the SvelteKit docs. It's this. Cool. So if this has been successful, go to the user profile. Awesome. Let's see. So if we do this, then this fails, this fetch request fails because we haven't made it yet. But it still keeps chugging through. That's interesting. So only if we've got success Let's get there, please. I'm trying to use my magic pasting thing, but it doesn't seem to work. This paste. Oh well. So we can go through the flow again for sure. And we can say if there is an error, can log it, why not? And then go back to the login page. Maybe not log it. Because I'm confident we'll make this work. But we do want a session.ts, which may look like the one we've made in the auth video. See all the crazy stuff we're doing there. No Firebase admin here. Maybe not this. I guess we'd probably want to verify the ID token somewhere, but maybe not, I suppose. What will happen if it's like something that's made up? I guess the Supabase client will not work, which may be what do we want. Do they have a verify? Let's have a look. This Supabase client, do they have a verify? No. I think they have a way to decode the JWT, so if that doesn't work, you could do it, but I don't think we'll manage to get to that today. So none of that. And we may want to create a session cookie and definitely want to set stuff in the headers for the cookie. And we also have a delete method. And let's remember how cookies work in SvelteKit, because we want to set two. Cookie 1, cookie 2, so that should be fine. In this instance, we'd want to set two cookies, I think. So can keep this as session. Call it expired. So this one does lots of Firebase specific bits. I think all we need is just to put the access token here. And do I want the user back? Maybe not, maybe yes, we'll see. I want to return the session cookie, and we're thinking of also having a refer session. So let's call this access token. And we said that the refresh will be in the JSON. So should be in request JSON. And I do need to await it. And the callback, it's common as a refresh token. Await it. So we should be setting 2 cookies here. If I go into the application here, I only have a dark mode cookie logged in true with in regards to the analytics system that I use, Plausible, but nothing regarding the session. So if the flow goes correct, then we should be able to see here session, which will have a long value and will be the access token, and a refresh session, which will have a shorter value and will be the refresh token that we can use to exchange with a fresher JWT with Supabase. So we are getting there. Let's try to log in. Maybe just double check. Callback should get us here. We've done some magic to do some stuff on mount. So when we hit the browser eventually, then we get the access and refresh token from the hash parameters, because for some reason Supabase redirects back using hash routing, which I don't know why they do it, but we'll do a fetch request to auth session post request with the access token as authorization bearer here and the refresh token in the JSON body, which is a nice to have. We may use this to keep refreshing the user session in a more secure way, but we'll see. And after that's been a success, then we go to the profile page, which we don't have. And if not, we go back to login and they can try the login flow again. Let's see which one we'll get. Submit. We definitely need more stuff in the flow here as well. You can see that Supabase is adding some stuff because they expect you to do this client side as well. But I'm back to my emails. I just got an email from Supabase. I'm gonna copy the link address and I'm gonna paste it here to pretend that's what would have happened. So it's a Supabase URL depending on the app that will redirect back to localhost 30,000 auth callback, which is great. It's it. We got back to the profile, which is very promising. And do we not have the cookies that we wanted? Oh no. That would have been what I'd have expected. I wonder if it's the HTTP only stuff, and I wonder if we got like any weird console logs here. Like, how fast was the redirect? Definitely have it here. And does it replace the window location? I was hoping this would work. But let's have a look as well into our little callback. Let's see what the instruction is. Anything weird on the server? Identifier expected. Is that from ages ago? Who knows? Did manage to get here, so I assume I fixed it, whatever that was. All right, let's go back. We don't seem to hit that route, which is interesting. Why not? It always redirects to profile. Why? Well, with the error code, that's fine, I guess. All right, let's try it again. Login flow, my email. I get a new email. I can copy it here. I can paste it here. And we go back to the login page because something went wrong, which is fine. And we got an unauthorized here, which is also fine, means we've set up something, we've done something wrong earlier. Could be this. Could I be misspelling this? Who knows? Let's see. This does feel likely. This being the fancy stuff with the authorization. Auth header bare and nothing. Oh, that's not what I expected. So what did we mess up here? The access token, which we had seen. Whoops. All right, our mighty regex. Will it work now? I blame that part of the flow. Error code 404, user not found. Interesting. How? Error 404, user not found. We've seen this working before, right? So what's the deal? Did Supabase find out I'm doing this and kicked me out? Maybe. Probably not. And then I am using this, right? So let's try it once more. So this. I'm pressing submit. I'm copying the link. And still it gets 404 user not found. It makes no sense. User not found. This is the link. Verify you get this token. How can it be a user not found? If we can all see it right here. Let's try it with a different email. So I'm getting a confirm your sign up in this instance. Confirmation token not found. I wonder if the problem is me going through the flow in different windows like this. But it doesn't feel like that should be the case. So I am gonna try to go through the flow in the same window here. And that does work. Wow. Look, the auth had a better. We're all nice and happy. So the access token was this and the refresh token was that. And everybody had a grand old time. Interesting. We will need to keep checking through this somehow. So if Supabase is happy with a redirect and it doesn't say that we didn't find the user, we do manage to do this fetch correctly with an access token and a refresh token. However, it does still not add the cookies that we want at the end of this request. So no need for these console logs anymore. But what is different from our session thingy here? One of them is that we do more than one cookie. That is true. But when do we hit the session endpoint? Let's see what we do. We do headers, authorization, like this. I guess the old school style, but nothing too big. And then we parse the JSON. And I guess that's it. Get the user back. And then we go to the profile page. We can try doing that. Why not? But I guess we don't actually have the user there, because we're doing it client side. Oh well, let's take the little break and we can think about it a bit more. So there are two problems we've encountered at this stage. One is sometimes Supabase. I get the magic link, the email with the magic link correctly. I click the link, and sometimes when I copy the link from my email client and paste it into this window, then it says I couldn't find the user, which I don't understand why. When I click the link directly, it does seem to work, but we still are not setting the cookies, which could be anything really. It is cookies, so who knows how you set them. We do manage to set cookies in this app, to be sure, because if we look, I'm hoping that if I click the theme toggle, ping, ping, you can see this theme cookie there, right where my face is. Let's make this higher. So this theme cookie, when I click, we do hit an endpoint that manages to correctly set this cookie. So that works just fine. However, we don't seem to be able to set the cookie when we get to the callback page here. These values from the hash seem to work. But then we hit this auth session endpoint, which also seems fine. But it doesn't accept the setting of the cookies. Could be a problem with how we are setting the cookies now. The difference from the theme is that we do try to return 2 cookies here, not 1. So for the theme, we do return header set cookie. Do we actually do it in the correct place? Yeah, so return. This doesn't need to be in a try catch. Hey Ahmed, href. We are struggling with hrefs and the hash part of an href as well, so very appropriate username. Glad to see you enjoy the content. So again, we have this theme that does seem to set the cookie correctly. Max80, what's that about, Johnny? There is one thing I learned from being in the UK for a while, is that I'm an absolute muppet. I don't understand why is the cookie not saved. Everything seems to be going fine. Because you set the expiry to 0 to delete it. Alright, so I'm more confident that it will work now. At least the part where I click the link from my mail client and then I get in there. It will still not work if Supabase does not manage to find the user. So I will get a bit of water and move on a bit rejuvenated with that little find. Well, that's what happens when you copy-paste code. We copy-pasted the expired session cookie and the refresh cookie that we had. So, you know, this, we shouldn't have copy-pasted that part. Oh well. All right. We can do it. More noodles, more focus. Let's go. The question still is, well, one of the questions, like interesting cookies that the Supabase adds. So they should be able to do the finding stuff just fine, to be honest. Not sure. I wonder if me copying the link, if Gmail is secretly trying to get me somewhere. I hope not. But in any case, I will do it in a new window too. Right, we get back to the login screen because Supabase, for some reason, is telling us that we cannot find the user. I don't understand why. So I will try to do it again. And I will bring this in momentarily. So submit. You see, I get the email here. You can miss this template. Then if I press, then it does get to the profile page correctly. And we have a session cookie and a refresh session cookie. That's amazing. And I guess we could also be setting our expires or the max age here according to what the Supabase ZWT is telling us in the response. I saw that they do give us an expires by, but that's by the by. This is very exciting. We do manage to have a session at this point. And if we have a session, we want to show the profile page. And if we don't, we want to redirect to login. It's a bit of a similar thing. And since I've done all of this here, you can see that since it's still Chrome, the same Chrome instance, we do have the session cookie and the refresh session cookie here. So great. We did manage to log in. You'll have to take me on my word on that, but we will prove it. Because we will make use of these values to do something significant with being logged in. The first thing we want to do potentially is to show something. Let's show a profile page, right? So now that we have a session, we should be able to see a profile page. So let's create routes profile.svelte. And we can base it off whatever we're doing for the ideas page. Maybe keep this, actually. And we can have a little form here that would say would ask for your username, and we can change that. Could be a different section, I guess. Maybe not. And I don't know if we'll get as far as actually getting favorite ideas today. But we should have enough to make this be true. So we'd only want to be in this page if we have a user in the session, and my user should be, let's see if we have the same group person here as well. Yeah, and my user in this instance should be this, who has this ID, and in our tables, we have a profiles table that says a display name here. So let's say you're logged in as this, and we want that username to somehow be got according to the user that we have in the user store or somewhere there. And if we don't have a user in the user store, we want to redirect to the other page. And we probably want the ability to log out here, but we'll do that later. I think we're picking up steam. I'm very excited. And we're talking about stores, and already in this app, we do have a session store, which we have also defined what's inside it in probably app.d.ts. So in the locals, we have a theme and an ideas repo, and in the session store, we have the theme. That's the light or dark or auto for this app. And we also want to have a user, I would say. And let's go to our generic types. I already have a user here. They won't have an email. They will have a display name, which will be a string. Maybe they'll have it. Maybe they won't have it. We'll see. And we will say that in the session, we'll have a user. Let's import that type. And if you have seen that video, then you'll know that the session store gets instantiated based on the hooks that you have here. So if on your hooks index or hooks.ts file, you have a get session method, it will start the store with whatever object you return. And now that I've typed this to also have a user, you can see that it's a bit upset that we are not returning a user, which is all well and good. And I guess I should type it a bit better. So because in the session, you'll always have a theme, but maybe you won't have a user. Maybe the user will be null. And for now, let's go back to hook index. I also think I will rename this to hooks.ts because I don't think there's going to be anything else going in that directory, but that's by the by. So the user, maybe it's null, that's how we start, but if you go through the login flow, the user is actually defined. So the user will have an ID of whatever this ID is. Let's say it's ABC for now. And then display name, jump in the comments on what display name to put in here. And I will do it. And now get session is happy and we'll be able to use it throughout our app. The way we'll use it is by having a new store. So for the theme, you see we have a derived store that takes the session store that SvelteKit creates for us and then accesses the .theme key really. And we can take full inspiration from that and say that we have a user store. Take the session again, take the user type, and well, wherever we say theme, we can actually change to user. And then we won't be too far off. So, derived store, it means we are creating a new Svelte store based on one or more other existing stores. You cannot directly write to this new user store we are creating. But we're passing in the session store, we get its value here, and we can say, all right, the user store is actually going to be the user property from the session store. And we also export a utility method because you cannot set to this store directly, as you may be used to with Svelte writable stores. And what this does is it takes the existing session store and spreads all the existing sessions, so we won't lose any other data, so we won't be overriding the theme as well if we log out, and then set the user to whatever you may be passing in here. And say you can pass in the user or null, and that would mean that the user gets logged out. So if you pass in user here, then you get logged out. And I guess what we could do here is also do a fetch request to auth session, or should we not? Do we want a set user or not? Maybe you always pass a user here. We don't want a fetch request. That's not what we want. We want a logout user helper method. It's going to be a delete request with nobody at auth.session, which will be hitting that auth del for delete handler. And I guess we can inline return here. So we don't want the fetch here. We want to be updating the session store. Does this return anything? No, so it doesn't matter if we return it. And logout user takes nothing. Makes the user back to null. And also does a fetch to delete the session, which will mean that these two cookies get expunged and were considered logged out and have to go through the login flow again. Sweet. Why do we have this user store? Well, we want in the profile page to say that the user display name is here. So now you can see it magically becomes JMag. And we'll be doing some more magic later to actually get the value from Supabase Auth. So we want it to be Johnny. And still feel free to tell me until we make that integration possible what you want to see here. And might as well, since we're here, we can have a delete form. Should I copy it wholesale from the other repo that we have? Why not? Yoink. And on handle logout, I can only imagine that we call our logout user method. Do we do that in the other repo? And we also go to the index page, which makes sense. Let's do it. All right, let's not press this just yet, but we expect that when we do press it, these get expunged, the two cookies we use for our auth purposes, and we get redirected back to the home page. We will be using it shortly, as we'll want to prove again whether the auth flow kind of works. But we also want to make this more realistic. So the way we get this JMAC value, if you remember, is because we went to this get session hook and just hard-coded the user at this instance to have an ID of ABC and a display name of this, which shouldn't be the case. We should actually be using the Supabase client, I guess, inside this handle method if we have a session cookie. So how we want to do this? It feels like we may need to create the client afterwards, because we may have like the not authenticated client if we don't have a cookie. But passing the API key there. So this is like the more Supabase specific stuff. So this is exciting to try to figure out. So definitely we want a get user from cookie method, which takes, well, why did I not copy all of this? And then, that's the exciting bit. If we do have a cookie, maybe not. Maybe we can create the client either way. So I'm taking this back. So get user from cookie, it takes the cookie itself, and then it also takes the Supabase client. Because if we don't have a session cookie, we can return null immediately. But if we do, then we can do some cool stuff with the client. And I do think they have an auth set auth thing, which you can pass a JWT. Great, because we've instantiated the client like this. But afterwards, this mutates the client, which is kind of interesting, but it may be fine. We'll want to set this session cookie, which should be the encoded JWT, I hope. It doesn't really say whether this should be encoded or not, or decoded. I'm hoping the answer is encoded is fine. But then we should be able to access our profile. table. So let's look at our ideas repo actually. And see what crazy things we need to do for this. So from profiles, I guess, and select limit 1. Doesn't seem too crazy. We can create it again. So in this instance, we can say wow. GitHub Copilot autocomplete carrying for us yet again. I would have even forgotten whether it's in the .data key. Is that true? Let me look at the ideas repo again. It is. It's kind of fun. So if it has data and if it has length, then we want to return the first row, which will be the user. Yes, we can call this rows. But no, the data is the rows. So maybe the result is a better name. This filter builder. Oh well. All right, so we get the ID and the display name back. Let me double check. Did I actually call it with underscores? Yes. All right. Is this readable? Probably not. Hopefully that's a bit more readable. So now we should be getting the user from the database. Let's see. We'd expect this to change to Johnny if we manage to hook things up correctly. Look alive. So did I add this to the locals? So the locals should also have a user or null. The locals should also have a user or null. And in here, I shouldn't be hard coding a user. I should be saying that the user is actually from the locals we get passed to, and we can add the user to the locals by saying user is whatever we await from get user from cookie. Here's the cookie, here's the Supabase client, and good luck with that. Wah. So no results, which is fine. But why didn't we get this? Would be good way to stay. Written display name of null. So this is null, I guess. Ah, right. So right here in our little profile, we should actually have a type guard. We should have something to redirect us back to the login page if we think that we're not logged in. Of course we are, but hey. And the way we do that is by having a load method that redirects. We tried to do this earlier, but now we actually can. So the load method for this would be if the session doesn't have a user. If the session does have a user, then everything is good, keep going, business as usual. If not, redirect to the login page with a redirect 302 code. So in this instance, we get redirected back to the login page and we're not allowed to go to our profile because we don't have a user in the session. And I wonder if I haven't set up role level security. Well, it seems like I have. So let's go step by step to figure out what we've messed up here. Let's close quite a few windows. And it seems that the point where we've actually messed something up is this. Oh, it's the autocomplete. It should be profiles. So now, does it get any better? Well, it seems like we do have a user somewhere, just that they don't have a display name. So what are the results here? Let's have a look. What does our result look like? Does this run on the server? Here it is. It is the first result of data. It is indeed the first result of data. If no result data or no result data length, make it here. We do make it here. One more console log would make me happy. What have we actually put in the locals? Display name undefined suddenly. Why? So the database user has an ID of string. An underscore display name, I'm afraid. See, with Prisma, I'd never have done this mistake. Neither the taking a table that doesn't exist, neither forgetting that the result here is underscore display name. But we made it to this, and we can take a little break knowing that it's kind of working. So let's switch back to my zoomed in face, more face thing. You can see more of the plant. I guess it's here. It's tricky fixing your hair as well. It's tricky when it's not mirrored. But hey, looks like we've been streaming for more than 2 hours. I hope you are having fun. I'm definitely still having fun. We still have things to do, but we're moving along. We have managed to actually go through a flow and log in. The flow does need quite a lot of UX improvement, so we have no helper text of you're being sent an email now. Oh, we sent the email to you, check there, and click the link to follow, and then you go back. Like all of these things haven't happened yet, but we're getting kind of close. So I would say from the agenda, we are almost able to check this. I don't think we'd actually be attempting the server-side thing, but we may actually do it. We have actually managed to do this with role-level security. I may try to make the permissions a bit more strict and see where that gets us. So this policy may be to prove that it works. I can enable access only if your ID is the same as the one that's credentialed for the request, because we did manage to add the JWD to the request, I think. But the best way to prove that would have been if we managed to do the favorite functionality, which I don't think we'll have the time to do, but still, you never know. We have one more stretch. One more big stretch to finish strong. I should have checked the chat. I think the poll should have dropped a little bit, which is fine, but I think we'll manage to have implemented auth at the end of it, even if we don't go through the whole agenda. All right. One last focus noodle. Excited again to get on with this. So this is real, maybe to prove that it is real. Should I change my username? We can do it with a form if we get to that. So what would we actually want to do? Maybe we want to show the logout functionality working. Or maybe if I go to the login route, I can still see the login page, which shouldn't be the case. I should be actually logged in now, and I shouldn't be able to click here to go to the login page. As a matter of fact, I would want this to show something different now that I'm logged in. Maybe the user avatar if we add this functionality. But we don't have it yet. So we can actually make all of this be its own component, which will be checking if we do have a user there. So let's call it a user icon.svelte. And let's say that all of this is going to be in here. My autocomplete magic is refusing to work. Did I literally call it user icon? Yeah, it's fine. I think that's fine. I was thinking that every other icon is literally an SVG, but maybe it's fine if it's just a user icon. The no user icon I can copy from here. Oof, this is actually doing quite a lot of stuff for the theming to work. Lots of stuff we'd never do. All I wanted this script tag for was for the no user icon. Because let's reinforce our ability to get a nice icon here. Let's use this one for now. Give it a fill. So if you don't have an avatar set or there is no functionality in the app yet, you get this. And then this can have a little if else. And if we have a user from our stores, then we can show this else if. So actually, if we don't have a user, we get there. Is it not else? In any case, we do want, if we have a user, we want this. We want to go to the profile page, but SvelteKit, Svelte if else. That's some of the beginner stuff that I never remember. Ugh, it's colon, not this. Okay. So now that we're logged in, this should be filled in. And if we click there, we should be getting to the profile page. All well and good. And we shouldn't be able to even manually go to the login page. We should only be able to go there if we're not logged in. And similar to how we're doing a check for in the profile page, in the profile route, using the load method, we can go to the login route and put in that module script block and say, if there is no session user, everything is fine, else redirect profile, because you're logged in, you shouldn't want to log in again. Maybe log out first. And if that's the case, you see that we do get immediately redirected to profile. So that's a bit of a hot tip here. You try to log in, maybe you've bookmarked it, but you end up in a profile page, which is great. And now is the fun part, or more fun. If I do click the logout button, do I get logged out? So these two should be expunged, and I should get the no auth user thingy and be able to go back into the login page to go through the flow again. So I see that this has happened and this has been expunged, but maybe we forgot to actually redirect. Handle logout. Should I have awaited this? Maybe not. I guess this returns nothing. Now, of course, we cannot get to the profile page again. But so we wouldn't want to actually be doing this, right? Because we hit this. We do hit the auth session with a delete anyway. So maybe we don't want this. We just want to use set user here. Set the user to null. No need to fetch again. Wrong. So in the profile, set user to null. And then go to, don't await this, to the root. So we should have gotten here, but we'll see if it works again. Let's try to go through the login flow once more. Now it arrived, the email. I'm gonna try again to copy the URL here and open it in this window. Which doesn't work, it gives us that user not found thing, which I don't understand, to be honest. But let's try to log in again. I'll bring this window over for you to see as well. But at some point, you should get the email to log in. Let's try it again. Ooh, interesting. Did we get there again? User not found. Why do we sometimes get this? We should never be getting this. But I guess it goes to show that my theory that the window somehow makes it different. It doesn't actually. Is it because... Yeah, so I followed the flow in the other window and now it was kind of happy to proceed, but we'll never know why. We do have these two things set. We are logged in as this person, but yeah, that's quite interesting. I'll need to debug this offline, I'm afraid. But login flow mostly works. Logout flow definitely works. Let's try it again. But we don't get redirected to the homepage afterwards. And that's another thing that I don't understand. Let's try to find it. So handle logout does this. We're using the enhanced form thingy here. And we set the user to null, but this doesn't seem to fire. It says it returns a promise, so maybe all we need to do is await this. Oh well. We see that our cookies have been expunged. I'll try once again to go through the flow in another window. And then it is happy. Click local again. It doesn't go there. It just doesn't want to go there. I wonder if there's something crashing in this. Ah, of course it crashes because of this. Can I do that part? Let's try it again. Well, we wanted to log in, and we're definitely logging in. So we do manage to log in. It doesn't work out of the box for unknown reasons. We initially get user not found. I don't know why, but I will investigate. But now when I hit logout, it should correctly get me to the main page. Well, it gets me to the login page, which is something. Is it because load tries to do this and immediately does this? Maybe, who knows? let's just go to /login and pretend that this is the thing that's making it go there. Or maybe not, maybe not. Let's try to understand this. So once again, I'm not logged in. I've put in my email. I submit. I go to my email client. I wait for the email to arrive. Sometimes it does take a few seconds. I follow the link here. It does manage to put the cookies in eventually, but I can't seem to do it live from this window. And all of that means that in the profile page, I cannot go to the login page anymore. I get directed to the profile page. And in the profile page, we do have the user information here. And what we'd love to see would be the favorite ideas part. So to be able to have some of these ideas start and that to be stored in the database somewhere. However, I don't think we'll manage to have the time to make that happen. We should also make the form a bit better, but I am gonna be ticking off we've managed to make it work client side. By making the form a bit better, I do mean that we don't have any information whatsoever saying, we sent you an email, go check your email, and all of that. We just console log whether we get a user back or not. I guess if we have an error, that is good. But this should actually be giving you instructions saying, check your email and then come back here. But should we try the invite user by email method? I wonder. That'd be more fun than trying to favor some ideas? Probably not. So I will try to do the favorite ideas part. So in the ideas card, let's say would the action be on the right? I think it'd be too small in this case, but hey. Yeah, that'd be a bit much, but we can get a heart. We can get a star, of course. Star would be better. Great and star. Interesting. Snap both of these. Let's say that the star is gonna be star SVG. This is gonna be empty star. Drop this here. All right, is this a real thing? Lib icons empty star. Should be. All right, so on clicking this, we want a request that says that we've liked this idea. We favorite this idea. And we can be inspired by this little logout form we had. We want it to be a post. We want it to be an let's see. We want the post to ideas/favorite. Then we want, do we want to do something in response? We probably do. We want to ensure that this becomes filled, I guess, and uses the other star, but we'll figure that out eventually. Let's just make it an empty form for now. An empty function, I should say. Enhance form, forget to bring that in. All right, so clicking this should do a request to /ideas/favorite, which doesn't exist. So let's go to routes ideas favorite.ts. Whoops, messed that one up. Let's try it again. And export a post handler because we're doing a post request. But yeah, maybe you can bulk like ideas, I guess. Why not? I'm thinking whether we should have like a magic slug method here. Probably not. So export const post request handler, and then we want the payload, which I imagine is going to be much like we use the payload. We get the payload from here, so from the request, which gets passed in an event. So we hope this has an ID, which will be the idea to favorite, created a like, maybe has a favorite true, I guess. And do we want a hidden input here? We can delete the favorite, so we don't need that. Yeah, sure. So we don't want to know that. All we want to know is the ID. And we can have a delete request that does the opposite, that dislikes, I guess, these favorites. So we have the ID from here, and then we'd want to do Supabase Magic, but in order to do that, we'd need to specify some more tables. And And what I mean by this is that in our app, we don't have a join table. We have an ideas table, so the ideas live there, the profiles table, so the users live there, and that exists in a few other places. But we don't have a way to match many users to many ideas. So an idea can be favorited by many users, and users can favorite many ideas, which means that we need a join table. For that, we can call it favorited ideas, favorites. Favorite ideas to users. All of that could make sense. I don't want to call this ideas to users because it's specifically for the favorites. So, and I don't want to call this just favorites because maybe we'll have another resource that is not going to be in the ideas table. Maybe it's going to be something else, and then it will get confusing. So maybe users to so it can have an ID that can be a unique ID. Which doesn't really matter. It can have a... Oh no, we need to stop momentarily, but let's try to get that going. So it definitely needs an ideas ID here. User ID here. So from the public profiles, I guess this is the same as the auth ID, so it doesn't really matter which one you do. It's probably safer to link to the profiles. And soon be nullable. Soon be nullable. Timestamp, soon be nullable. Save that table. And then let's see if we can add some row level security. So this should exist. Can I do a comma, like for update and auth unique ID equals user ID? Let's add that one. Ah, and insert and delete. But then it stops having it for me. So the user who is logged in should be able to delete their own lake. That makes sense. Why can I not select two? Oh well, I'm gonna go through it again. A new policy. And I hope that this will mean that if you're authenticated, you can add things where the user ID you say you're adding it for is the same as your authenticated user's ID. So you cannot like in behalf of somebody else. I hope that this is how this will work. Let's see. And these seem fine. Let's try to populate this. So here, they click the star. They definitely do a post request. And we do have an ID. And at this point, we should have our ideas repo here in the locals. And the user in the locals. And I would want the ideas repo to have a favorite idea. That autocomplete looks legit this time. So let's go to the ideas repo and see. Definitely want the ID. Definitely want the user ID. This will be a string. This will be a string as well. And we want this client. Do they have from? I will copy the name of this table. Can I? I need to get in there just to make sure that I spell it correctly. Insert. Right, so I'm hoping that we hit this endpoint and then we can do this. We can even try and return for cats. We say return just a generic status 400. All right, so let's go back into the idea card, and I claim that if we try to click this submit button, this has become a submit button, the star, then we're gonna hit the idea/favorite, but with what? So that's not the way to do it, actually, because that will be like form data, I guess. That is gonna be form data. Right, I'm glad we figured that out. So is that form data? And then in the idea card, I did say that I wanted a hidden input. They say that, maybe not. I guess having it in the URL would be easier. And then, let's see, the latest ideas. This is Svelte. So this thing does have a form, which has a hidden input, doesn't have a value. Maybe because the idea snippet doesn't have an ID. It should, I guess. Should have this. The value should be the ID, which should be this, which should be gotten from here. Each one of these ideas should have IDs. They do. It's here. Why is it not in the input? MDN hidden input with value. Well, I will do it the easier way out. Potentially easier way out. But it does mean that we'll have an ideas/favorite, and then this becomes idea ID. And then we can type this better. Like so. And now it's not like we have form data of params, I believe. Where do we have it? Not in the request, here I guess. And I believe we'll want to do the same thing from here. But in any case, now I do suspect type equals hidden is probably what I should have done there, but I will try it with this route there. Thanks, Matthias. Let's see. So I claim that now if we do click this, we will hit the favorite slash the ID of the idea. So we can see the action here. We'll hit the post request, so we will hit our post handler here. We'll be getting the ID. We will be passing to our ideas repo the current ID that we want and the user ID that we want. This should be the authenticated user. And then that should result in something appearing in this table, the Supabase table, users to favorite ideas. We aren't using it to actually show which ones we've started or not, but it would be cool if we did that something there. So click. That did something. Refresh. Not quite. Let's see if the server had something to say about that. Oh, we still have this. Let's try. Well, first of all, let's go to the ideas repo and see, do we make it here? And then console log the result. Then return the result, why not? So let's try it again. Server should be ready to go. There is a console log we don't want anymore. In hooks index. Should be good to go. Let's try it again. Let's try to favorite this idea. We click, something happens. We get forbidden. Great. The new row violates the row level security for users to favorite ideas. I was worried that this would happen because I don't really know what the policies should be. So we're saying that delete when the authenticated user ID is this person. But I guess the case is that it isn't. And what else does the server say? This should be the user ID. And let's see if that matches my user in the Supabase table. So we have these tables, we have these profiles, we have this. Does that kind of match? Yeah, it looks like it is the same. So can anyone insert anything? I guess that's the question of how does row level security work? I would hope that this should be the thing that's blocking us. So let's try it again. Disable these rules. Clicking it should definitely work. If I go now to the ideas to favorite ideas, whoa, was too certain. Bad request is what we got back. Oh, you should generate that automatically. You silly goose. Have we not made that happen? I guess not. Try again. All right, we managed to create it. This is the user that we do have. This is the real ID, I guess. But I still don't know with row level security, how would we make that work? I am trying to create a request here where I am saying, hey, the user ID is actually me. So I would hope that the row level security of this would allow it. But I guess the answer is no. Is there anything here? If they're authenticated, they can do it, but then can they? I guess they don't get their... they don't actually submit the user ID, so maybe that is fine, actually. Because it's the server that figures out the user ID, so they can't cheat and like others' ideas, or like ideas for others. So that's probably what we wanted. All right, back to the table, back to this. Delete this row. And now clicking here. Does it result in a new row? It does. It's happy. Can I delete it? But I guess in order to delete it, I should be able to show different UI according to whether the user has favored it. So we are definitely running a bit long and out of time, but I'm trying to get us here. I can, I guess, do those two things. Even though we've bypassed the do it server side. We're doing work on the server though, so half a tick on most of these things, I'd say. Cool. So what are we saying? We're saying that now we want the ideas repo to actually return So we want the ideas repo to also return whether I've liked the idea. And I think it has like a kind of weird way to do this. I want to create the favorites table. So let's see if that's possible. So inside my select, I can make it be kind of multi-line with the backticks, I suppose. That's what they suggest. But instead of cities, it's the users to favorite ideas table. And maybe I just want the created at. And I hate manually doing this, but in any case, let's see if this breaks anything. No, that's good news. I'll open an incognito window as well. So I'm not logged in here and I still get the app, even though I should not be able to see any user favorites. Should I add more row level security? I think so. So, whoops, turn it off. I guess I'll need to check again. I do want select access I want to be able to see my own likes, so let's see if that's gonna work. does this crash? Doesn't crash. That's great. Incognito mode, does this crash? Doesn't crash. Great. And I'm hoping that the response data will now have created that, I guess. Oh, who knows what it will have. Let's try to log one. And see how it would look. Right, so there is this thing, which is good. How many ideas does it return? All of them. It's also good. And I'm hoping that I haven't liked this, so that's why it doesn't have like a created at. So I'm gonna click it again. I'm gonna double check. It has 2 records now, and this should be the WarriorWare one. Well, this I guess. Good. So now when I refresh the page, it does have a created at, which means that it's been favored. That's amazing. And that means that we will need a nice mapper here as profiles. Does it also have like a profiles property? Doesn't look like it. That doesn't seem like it's respected. It must be able to be used somewhere. I can't see any favorites from here. Oh well, doesn't really matter. It does mean that I can map this DB idea to whatever it had, but I want to pluck out the users to favorite ideas key. With profiles. Where did I do that? Ah, of course, I was asking for the users as well. Interesting. So we want to return this. We'll also have a favorite boolean. say that it's this. And what did we see? What did we say? If it wasn't liked, it was just an empty array, I guess. Because that was an array of these things. All right. Still, nothing has crashed. Nothing has crashed. The question is, did we manage to figure out if an idea is favorite or not? Are we returning a favorite now? So if favorite else, and if we learned something today, it's not favorite, we want the form that we had before, should still be fine. But we want the full star. Which I think is what we call this, just star, I guess. Lib icons star. We want the full star here. If it's a favorite. And what we actually want to do is to delete. So let's go back to our profile and see that we need to do this trick in order to do delete requests with vanilla forms. Let's refresh. No favorite in the result. Sad days. Favorites undefined, which may be happy news. Is it because I didn't save this? Oh my god. That would have been even cooler without this moment of hesitation. Woohoo! So happy. So I definitely do need some time to actually let this mull over and understand what happened here. But I think overall, it kind of makes sense. It may be scrappy code, but for prototyping and figuring things out on the fly, I don't think this is bad at all. I think that's pretty good. So let's try to do the delete thing as well. So favorite ID, find this. Oof. Delete request. Do I have the time to actually try this? Maybe not, but I will try anyway. Because the delete request is not favorite idea. Let's get back in there. Let's get back in there. We don't need to log. We don't need to log this. Guess all we want is this, just to insert the row. But I guess what we want is to delete. Oh, how do we know the idea of this? Maybe no options. And then where is this? We need to look at the API. Not as easy as I would have liked, I'm afraid. So maybe we won't solve it today, because I do need to eventually go. Delete. Match. Okay. Promising. All right. Did row level security work? Because it shouldn't allow me to unlike things that other people have liked. Let's check. Does this work in incognito? Yes, and I have no favorites, and I shouldn't be. I guess if you click here and you're not logged in, you should be getting a model, something to tell you you need to log in to be able to favorite. It's free. Just do it. And now we're hoping that if I do remove the favorite idea, if I do click the star, if I do click the full star, it hits a post request that actually becomes a delete thanks to this underscore method trick that should delete this favorite from the UI. We don't have any methods to like handle unfavorite. So we won't be getting optimistic UI for this, but let's see. If I click this, it should delete the row. So if I refresh, I guess not. I guess we got some sort of error. But let's see, if I click the star, does this still work? Yeah, so favoriting it works. I guess there is some row level security shenanigans that doesn't allow me to delete. So it's this request here. Let's quickly log it. Did I actually call this method? Oh dear, it's gonna work and it's gonna be just me being too hasty for all of this. So I am gonna preemptively remove the console log and hope that it works. So I am thinking that refresh the page. If I click this, UI doesn't update because we're not handling optimistic updates. But if I refresh, we lose the favorite. That's awesome. We did it. Amazing. So lots of things, like especially regarding optimistic UI and giving feedback back to the user on what has actually happened. But lots of stuff actually accomplished. Like you're able to favorite things, you're definitely able to log in, and you are able to see your own favorites here. And I do maintain that if I go with like localhost, I still don't see other people's ideas. This I imagine would crash because I don't have a logged in user. But we should be bringing up again feedback, some model to tell the user that in order to favorite these, you need to log in. So give it a go. All right. I think that we've gotten like half check marks to all of these, maybe even that one, because most of the work is happening server side, even though we aren't actually doing anything with invite user by email, the new method that Supabase provides. If we did, we would be able to make this form work without JavaScript on the server. So instead of having this handle submit, call this Supabase client method on the client, we would never be using Supabase client on the client. We'd only be using it server side and using that new method to generate the magic link email, send that invite link. I don't know, however, if that works because it is an invite link. I think, well, I've definitely been invited to the same project more than once as I was testing this, but not through the client's method. So I don't know if that would work, but in theory it would. I think we can get further with this. I will switch out to the zoomed in face thing for one final sip and leave it to the floor for a few closing comments. I think this has been the longest stream yet, not by too far. And I can see when my face in the zoomed in that the scorching Barcelona weather is doing me in. I'm definitely much sweatier. The lights aren't helping that much, but I've enjoyed this thoroughly. Thank you very, very much for joining. Thanks to everyone who voted, no matter if you went yes and no, as we said in the beginning. This is all about the process, figuring stuff out together. It's not about, oh, we delivered this and we delivered that. Hopefully we did manage to figure out how to do auth with Supabase. We did progress further. We did learn some things. And most of all, we learned that there is an imposter syndrome cure. Work with others and you'll see that they're humans, they make mistakes. They don't know everything by heart. They need to go to Google things. They need to try to use Stack Overflow and then find that everything there is out of date and you shouldn't use Stack Overflow and then do it themselves. But I think this was quite fun. Indeed. So, without further ado, I will thank you again for choosing to spend this time with me. Be on the lookout for more videos. The SvelteKit Endpoints video is coming along. I'm in the process of editing it, so keep an eye out for that. But I am hoping to do yet another stream next Friday, Kotlin and Seal. This is a bit easier to put together because I hit record, I've done a bit of research beforehand, and then we figure stuff out together, and sometimes the chat does need to come in and say, oh, did you try this? Maybe you should try this other thing, and gets us unstuck. Well, when it's in my hands to edit things and have it be more streamlined in respect of your time, then it does take me quite a while, but the videos are coming. All right, thanks again, and I'll see you around. Bye bye.